You are a Bayley fan. What you saw last night was absolutely epic. Not just for Bayley, but for you, the fan, as well. Hell, I'm not even a Bayley fan, and I know for the wrestling community as a whole, that was a special moment because it was a moment that we've been waiting for since, I don't know, the beginning of time? But on the other side of things, Becky Lynch fans, they're not so happy this morning because if you're a Becky Lynch fan, what you saw last night was actually tragic, right? You saw the final nails being placed on the coffin of Becky Lynch's momentum. The momentum that she once rode strongly going into Survivor Series 2018 before that campaign fell short thanks to Nia Jax. But her booking in 2019, it's been absolutely abysmal. It's been non-existent for Becky Lynch. In fact, Becky Lynch today, if she was Becky No Belts, it wouldn't make a difference because her booking has absolutely derailed any momentum that she once had. There is a huge part of the wrestling world that just is not on board with Becky Lynch being one of the faces of WWE. And the reason for that is they don't give us a reason to be on board with Becky. Why is anybody gonna look at Becky as larger than life when WWE doesn't even view her as such? Just a championship is not gonna do anything for an individual. The person has to make that championship relevant. A multi-month feud with Lacey Evans is not gonna do that. A 1-month feud with Nattie Neidhart is not gonna do that. A relationship publicly in the ring with Seth Rollins won't do that. I can go on and on with the bad booking of Becky Lynch. How about hopping into WrestleMania 35? Literally, Miss Hop-Along on crutches, and I'm surprised they didn't put her in a wheelchair for a week or two. The opposite of strong. Her best promos are cut on social media. That's the truth. People don't want to hear it, especially Becky Lynch fans, but I'm with you. Just because I'm not a Becky Lynch fan doesn't mean I don't feel for you. I want to see her succeed. I want good booking to be behind her so she has a chance to do such. Just having a championship won't do shit for you if you can't make that belt something special. They're not allowing her to do such. So even though I'm not a Becky Lynch fan, to witness what I saw last night was cringeworthy. When she was cutting a promo on Sasha, and a big part of that arena was chanting, "Becky, Becky," because they're conditioned to do such. What other larger-than-life stars do they have to depend on in that company? I have the answer. There's zero. Becky Lynch is far from it too, trust me. But she is, today, one of their superstars. And that tells you the state of WWE today. Where somebody as tragically booked as Becky Lynch is one of the only ones that the crowd in attendance can actually go, wait, she's a super, let's chant. I'm not saying a portion of that crowd and many crowds around the fucking world don't literally just love Becky Lynch, don't love Rebecca Quinn, absolutely. But a major part of every one of those crowds is chanting because they're conditioned to do such. There's not a lot of superstars, if any other, that you can really chant their names. Shit, I heard an AJ Styles chant last night when he's supposed to be one of their bona fide heels today. They don't know any better. They just want to chant names, but there's nobody special to chant. And what fact do I have to back that up? BC, how do you know they're just not diehard Becky fans, man? Why do they gotta be conditioned fans and casuals? And fair weather, fickle fans. Why, BC? You don't got facts? Yes, I do. I always come with facts, brah. Watch the end of the night, right? That was an hour or two beforehand when they were chanting Becky, and then at the end of the night, when Bayley did her little fucking halfway turn, and I'll say why I call it halfway later on when we get to that main event, but when you see Becky Lynch take that beating from Bayley, and you watch that same crowd that the majority were yelling Becky an hour or two before, and you watch that same crowd turn on her on a dime and start yelling yes, yes, for Bayley to keep on whacking Becky Lynch, and you see all those fans turn on Becky like nothing. That is how I know that what I'm saying is correct. fair weather, fickle fans, and you can't blame them. They don't have anyone else to cheer. So they know that Becky Lynch has been a hot name for the last year, so when they're in front of them, Becky Lynch will get a chant. But when something really fun happens or really cool, they're gonna throw Becky Lynch to the side, throw Becky Lynch to the wolves. And they're gonna chant for the new fad or the new cool thing, like what was Bayley last night. I'm right, bro! I went back and watched this 3 times, just to make sure I caught everything. But I already saw this from the jump. I was the only one telling you this before WrestleMania. Luckily, most of you guys listen to me, and there's a little percentage that loves to be entertained by me, but also thinks, nah, BC's gonna be wrong this time, and I'm always fucking right. They turned on Becky Lynch so fast like last night, and don't even get it twisted and try to say it was because of shock factor, BC. They love Becky, but they were shocked what Bayley was doing. You don't turn on somebody like that. Are you kidding me? Macho Man Randy Savage turned on Hulk Hogan back in the day. We hated Savage. Our sympathy, our empathy, everything in our fiber and our being was with Hulk Hogan when Randy Savage was turning on Hulk Hogan. If Austin got fucking turned on in the Attitude Era, we were solely behind Austin. We wouldn't be behind anybody with the authority, not even if it was the fucking Rock or Mick Foley. We were behind Austin because we were fully on board with such. Today, Becky's one of their shining superstars that everybody loves, but they turned on her in a heartbeat. Not just enjoying the shock factor, they were literally chanting, yes, yes, beat the shit out of her. And what are you gonna tell me? This morning they're back on Becky's bandwagon, BC. Don't worry, that was just the shock factor. They got caught up in the moment. Man, I would hate to be one of your family members. They're getting fucking jumped outside of a fucking Target or a Walmart. What are you gonna be? Shocked? So you're gonna chant? Yeah! Kick the shit out of my brother! Fuck him! And then the next morning, sorry bro, man, I got caught up in it. I was videoing that shit though for YouTube. You took a fucking zinger to the eye, you alright? Damn, bro. But I'm with you this morning, dude. I'm with you. Last night, though, you get a pretty badass ass whooping. I had to chant for that shit. One more time. One more time. What the fuck? If you're chanting Becky, you would think you're a Becky fan. You don't want to see her get destroyed. That's what I mean. That's what the fans have come to today, though. And it's not even their fault. You can't blame them. They paid their money to go to this show, and it probably struck them within the first 20 minutes. There's really no superstars that are larger than life in this company, right? There's a bunch of superstars. AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, you can even look at Braun Strowman if you want to. SmackDown, you got fucking the Roman Reignses, the Daniel Bryanses, but nobody's larger than life. Nobody's captivating us like Hogan did in the 80s, or Austin did in the 90s, or Taker still did in the 2000s. There's no larger than life. So when you go to the arena, it hits you. Who am I chanting for? They had to chant for AJ Styles at one point. The old school AJ Styles chant, even though he's supposed to be one of the bona fide heels. And then Becky gets her chant cutting a promo on Sasha, and at the end of the night, the entire crowd, yes, yes, when Bayley did the turn. It goes to show you, this crowd, the wrestling world is yearning for something cool, something special, something we can latch onto and be proud of. It shows you that Becky Lynch's momentum, like I said all along, it's diminished to basically nothing. You can't blame the fans for their chanting yes last night when Becky was getting beat. You can't solely blame Becky for her momentum being diminished to nothing. Vince McMahon and his creative bullshitters have to take responsibility for what has happened with Becky Lynch. A multi-month Lacey Evans feud going into a month run with Nattie Neidhart, making the Seth Rollins thing so public that it was basically forced upon people, in just a disgusting manner, to the point where Seth and Becky actually teamed up at a pay-per-view to take on Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, like anybody needed to see that. And then, on top of that, you use Sasha and Bayley to beat the hell out of Becky, thinking that would get Becky Lynch sympathy. There was no way that was going to get Becky sympathy. If they truly loved Becky Lynch, it would have gotten her the sympathy, and they would have booed Bayley. But they didn't, because what they saw Bayley do to Becky was more badass and cool than anything Becky was doing that night or previous. That's the facts. That's what happened last night. I'm telling you the reason behind it. I took courses in psychology when I did go to school. I know what I'm talking about, man. I look and I dissect behind what's going on in front of us. I like to take 10 steps behind the curtain, peek, and then just dive right into that shit. And find out all the answers that I'm not supposed to know. I love that shit. Can Becky Lynch be corrected? Sure. Does she need a championship to be corrected? No. You know, but do they even care to do anything with Becky? Or do they literally think in their delusional WWE bubble that they're in that everything is fine with Becky and there is no issues? Because if they did honestly think that what they pulled last night with Bayley was going to get Becky Lynch sympathy, they had to have known it was never going to happen. They have to get a better pulse of their wrestling audience, their fan base, their universe. Why do I have a better gauge and pulse on their own fucking audience than they do? That's an issue. But I do. I have gauged their audiences night in and night out. So, on one hand, what we saw last night with Bayley, and I'll talk more specifically about Bayley when I get to that main event a little bit later on in this review. But this is just the opening monologue. This is just talking, hey, for Bayley, this is awesome. For Becky, you go back and watch the promo she cut on Sasha and listen to the crowd, and they're chanting her name, and then you watch the end of that night, and they're all turning on her, shouting yes to beat the shit out of her. If you're Becky Lynch, that was not a good night for you. Because it was an eye-opener. If you're Becky Lynch, if you honestly are so far in that delusional WWE bubble world that even Becky Lynch herself thinks she's something amazing in that company that everyone loves and adores and will not turn their back on her, if you honestly thought that this morning, Becky Lynch now knows, wow, they can turn on me like that. Welcome to the real world. As Lacey Evans would say, it's straight up nasty. Becky Lynch found that out last night, man. Again, I'm not a Bayley fan up front or a Becky Lynch fan. As somebody who dissects pro wrestling, I believe better than anybody in this world, I will fully say that was awesome for Bayley. That was tragic for Becky. I'll talk a little bit more about it, especially on the Bayley end of things, and I raise a question. Was that really a heel turn? Because we've seen something like this from Bayley in the past. And on top of that, is the Sasha and Bayley thing going to become so cool and badass that they're just going to be cheered anyway? And they're just going to be tweeners, I call them. Just in between heel and face. So I'll raise that question. I'll talk a little bit more about it a little bit later on. I want to go over the rest of the show first. And I first want to say all apologies for not having an AEW All Out review video. As you guys know from the last video I put out this past Thursday, the podcast, 31st ever podcast of BC's Amplified Pro Wrestling Podcast, you guys know that I had a lot to do after I filmed that video, going into the weekend and coming out of it, but I was gonna try to find some time to cut that review. Unfortunately, there just wasn't any. You guys know I'm extremely fucking busy, 24/7. I literally could not find a moment to film that video, that review. And on top of that, because of where I was traveling, multiple places, there was a hurricane down south that really fucked up our travel plans. And I'm not going to complain too much because, A, I know many of us had travel plans just mashed up. So I'm not going to be the one to say I'm a victim in this. But more importantly, I know people's homes and lives are in jeopardy because of this hurricane. So I think it's kind of trivial if I say my travel plans got messed up when people's houses are being destroyed, or they're fucking literally taking their lives, picking themselves up and running away from this thing. I think it's trivial if I start talking about travel plans. But that was a big part of why I couldn't do anything with AEW's All Out. Yes, I did catch it in all of my downtime travel-wise. I was absolutely able to catch it. I actually watched it live for the most part. I think I was on like a 10-minute delay. But I hope to talk about it later on in the week, maybe for the 30-second podcast coming up later this weekend. I don't know if it'll be a full review, but I will definitely spend probably the opening monologue talking about AEW All Out, and I'm going to give you guys the truth. I'm not one of these people that doesn't want it to succeed, and I'm not one of these people that are dick riding it. I'm going to give you the matter-of-fact, down-the-middle truth and facts of AEW All Out. The good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. But that's why I couldn't get that out to you guys, man. I was just busy doesn't even do it justice. I literally think in the entire 5 days previous, I have had maybe 10 hours of sleep. 5 days combined. So, I mean, you average that out to, what, a couple hours every night if I was lucky. But, oh well. I'd have it no other fucking way, man. It keeps me fucking going. That, just the energy, the pure passion, and of course, my good buddies at Starbucks. Together, we form a formidable team. Fuck sleep. Who needs sleep when you're too busy fucking shit up? Who needs sleep when you're beating the shit out of life? That's what I say. Let's get into the first hour. I'll try to go over this real quick, guys. Or at least the first hour, because there wasn't anything worthy to really go into detail on. Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins kick off Raw on a contract signing. AJ Styles, Gallows, and Anderson appear at the top of the ramp. This is where you start to hear some AJ Styles chants, and right off the gate, you're thinking, wow, there really is no superstars that are larger than life in this company, is there? When we're reduced to cheering for fucking heels that have also been poorly booked for the longest time. It's tragic, man. But anyway, Gallows, Styles, and Anderson are all up at the top of the ramp. Styles is asking how championship matches are even made anymore. Championship matches these days are just somebody goes up to a champ and says, hey, I want a match. The champ's like, all right. And all of a sudden at the pay-per-view, it's on. So he's kind of calling that out. And he's also asking, how are number one contenders even made around here? It seems like anybody can go up to a champion and just say, I want a match. You know, why Strowman? Why Bobby Roode and Ziggler? Why are all these people all of a sudden getting championship matches out of nowhere? And he's right. These are issues that we know behind the scenes are going on in WWE. They just don't change shit. They're okay with putting it out there as a story, but they won't change it behind the scenes. Until that happens, can we really get on board with this shit? The first couple of times, all right? Seth Rollins gave a big speech about how shit needs to change, and I was on board with that. Kevin Owens recently just gave a shit needs to change speech. I was okay with Owens. But now now Styles is doing it. It's blurring lines. Isn't that something a face should be saying? This company doesn't know if it's coming or going anymore. What the fuck they're doing. They don't know if they have a brand split or they don't. They don't know who's a heel, who's a face. They don't know who the fuck is going for what championship, or much less who's the champion at any given time. This company is clueless when it comes to all the main issues. As far as little details, don't even get me started on that, because they skip those every which way. Styles and the club finally hit the ring. Styles rips up the contract that was in the ring between Rollins and Strowman, so it never officially got signed by either participant. And right when Styles rips up the contract, Rollins and Strowman begin a brawl with the OC that led us into commercial. So we know off the bat, holla, 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 player, we're going to get some type of schmaz tag team match when we come back from commercial. And that's exactly what we got. Back from commercial, an impromptu tag match is awaiting us. Rollins and Strowman versus Gallows and Anderson. After 2 commercial breaks, In 6 of the 14 minutes of this match, not televised, we finally got Rollins pinning Anderson. That's right. 14-minute match, 6 of those minutes were commercial. Did you enjoy the 8 that you had that were split up? Trust me, we don't need the fucking rule of no commercials or no wrestling during commercials. Fuck that shit. I'll take this over that any day. But spacing has to be better laid out. You gotta time your TV timeouts much better than what we saw last night if it's supposed to be a big match like the OC in Strowman and Rollins. And you're gonna be fucking giving us that as a main event at Clash of Champions. And you're giving us this first match on Raw with 2 commercial breaks, 6 minutes, taking out of what for us was barely an 8-minute match. And you expect me in a review show to go, what an amazing match! No. This match was what it was. Pure misery. And thankfully, Rollins rolled up Anderson to end the misery for all of us. And oh yeah, another loss for Gallows and Anderson. Afterwards, they had a little bit of a beatdown, right? You had Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler come down to the ring, join the OC, and they had a post-match beatdown on Rollins and Strowman. But is that supposed to save face for Gallows and Anderson? Because they had a post-match beatdown? No! They look like clowns. The post-match beatdown by a heel that just lost only works if we look at him as a threat. If you have somebody or bodies like Gallows and Anderson constantly losing every week, and then they lose again, and then they do a post-match beatdown, we don't give a fuck! They're still losers! So anyway, you had this post-match beatdown, we had magic killers, we had phenomenal forearms, we had glorious DDTs, all the whole 9 yards, and Rollins and Strowman are obliviated. So the whole first half an hour of Raw was dedicated to Rollins and Strowman in their bullshit match at Clash of Champions that I'm sure most of us don't give a fuck about. The fact that they put tag team championships on these two just to try to heighten a feud and storyline that we already don't care about, and that's not going to do anything to help it. The fact that they dedicated the first half an hour of the show to them, and it did nothing, should tell you something. Tag titles didn't get us any more interested in Strowman and Rollins. The first half an hour of this show did nothing to get us more interested in Rollins and Strowman. That has to tell you something. And then next week, they're bringing Stone Cold Steve Austin right here to New York City to finally sign the contract or have the contract signed between Rollins and Strowman. They're gonna use Stone Cold to try to heighten this, and that still will do nothing. That'll make us love Stone Cold more than anything. We'll all be talking about Stone Cold, not Rollins and Strowman next week. I assure you. I already know where this is going. After the first half an hour, we go to commercial. We come back. The OC attacks Cedric backstage. This wasn't to make the OC look strong. I assure you, this was just to make Cedric look weak. He is actually dealing with a little bit of an injury too, by the way, behind the scenes. But this is so when he loses later on in the night, there's more of a reason. The OC jumped him. See? Cedric's good. He couldn't beat the numbers game. That's all this was. So in that aspect, brilliant, I say. And then we went into Dolph and Roode. Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, or Robert Roode, taking on Ryder and Hawkins. Nothing to talk about. In 3 minutes, Roode and Ziggler collected the W. What the fuck does that have? Did that 3-minute match that Dolph and Roode had with Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, did those 3 minutes get you more excited to see Roode and Ziggler go for the tag straps in 2 Sundays from now? Did that get you excited and intrigued? Fuck, man! Am I the only one using some common sense and some logic, mixing it up with some realism and facts, and dropping those truth bombs? Am I the only one who's using their fucking noggin, their dome piece? Lacey Evans takes on Nattie next. In 5 minutes, Lacey Evans defeats Nattie with a nasty right hook, I guess you could say. Listen, I don't have a problem with this match. 5 minutes is probably all it should have went. Lacey Evans keeps on improving to the Amplified Man, so that's good to see. That's the best I've seen Nattie in a long time. She brought a fierceness. So I don't have necessarily a problem with it. I just don't know why I'm seeing it and what it's leading to for either of them. Nothing has direction in this company, or if it does have direction, it's a clear direction right off the train track. Then we end hour number 1 with Becky Lynch calling out Sasha Banks. Again, you get some Becky chants, and at the end of the show, they all turned on her. But Becky Lynch calls out Banks. Banks actually comes out and challenges Lynch for the strap at Clash of Champions. And Sasha Banks, before she drops the mic, says, "The man is gonna be the boss's bitch." Got a little bit of an ooh-ah out of the crowd. And again, second week in a row, Sasha Banks, who was never known for her mic work, was never known for great promo work, just like 99% of the female roster. And in fact, you could say 90% plus of the entire roster, males included, never known for their promo work. Actually, a lot of them just suck at it. But for 2 weeks in a row, Sasha has nailed it. But I'm sure just like last week, you'll get Joe Schmo number 1 and Clown Fuck number 2 that'll be like, I needed more from this. This is too scripted and I need more. There has to be more detail in this. Bullshit. Fuck you. You're bullshit. Step out, bitch. Oh, I tell you, man, sometimes you just get a fucking clown that's, it's like whack-a-mole. You ever see whack-a-mole and fucking a clown will pop up every now and again? Boom, boom, boom. You just want to fucking whack it down. Shut up, clown! Hour number 2 kicks off with Baron Corbin defeating Cedric Alexander, round 2 of the King of the Ring tournament. This match ends with Corbin hitting End of Days for the W. This was actually a good match. I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. I know that sounds odd, especially if I know a lot of you don't even watch Raw, you just watch the Amplified Man in my review. So you're hearing, well, a Corbin match was good, but it actually was, guys. First of all, Cedric Alexander was phenomenal in that match, but we've come to expect that with Alexander. But, and especially selling an injury from before, too, he doesn't really lose anything from this loss, because even the casual will remember, hopefully, that just a few segments ago, he was getting beat up by the entire club. So it was almost like a numbers game, and he still went out there, put on a great performance, and just came up short. And gave Baron Corbin a run for his money. So on the Cedric Alexander part of things, he not only was he phenomenal, but he doesn't lose anything from this loss. But on the other side, I want to give Corbin some credit because that's the best I've seen him look in probably his entire main run roster career, man. And I know it's only been a year or two, but this is the best I've seen out of him. And you gotta pay a lot of that to Cedric. I'm not totally taking the credit away from Baron, I just gave it to him. But you have to give a lot of that to Cedric because he's able to pull that out of Corbin. In pro wrestling especially, you can't create magic on your own. You have to have a great dancing partner in that ring. You have to have somebody that's about to and will bring out the best in you. It's just an it factor. It's just a chemistry that is unexplainable. Certain individuals have great chemistry when they come together. And just an it factor that just gels when they come together. It looked like Alexander and Corbin had that last night. And Alexander was able to pull something special out of Baron Corbin. Or at least the best that we have seen from Baron Corbin. So that was really good to see, man. It reminds me of John Cena. Nobody, even Cena fans, would look at John Cena as one of the best wrestlers ever. Not even close. But why has he had so many awesome matches that we're going to remember? Well, it's because he was in there with the right people, the right chemistry, the right magic was being created, and they created something special, something memorable. You know, they brought the best out of one another. Now, unfortunately, in this case, I can't say Baron brought the best out of Alexander, but Alexander definitely brought the best out of Corbin. Beggars can't be choosers. I'll take that shit. As I told you guys in last week's SmackDown review video, it does look like Vince is going to place the crown, scepter, and robe on Baron Corbin. So don't be shocked if my words end up becoming true, because I already think they are. That's why I said it last week. It looks like Vince is going to crown Corbin as the new king. It'll be King Corbin. That's what it looks like they're going. Up next, the Viking Raiders defeat another pair of jobbers. Again, I've said this a million times on this channel. I love jobber matches because they can help wrestlers become superstars. But there has to be a reason, a purpose, and a destination for a jobber match. What is it leading to? That has to be the question, and you have to have an answer to that. Why are we seeing this jobber match? I know for a fact they have no clue. And that is wasting these jobber matches to no end. It's wasting them. Instead of using them to build superstars, I know for a fact WWE doesn't have a clue what to do with the Viking Raiders. But they know that they want to keep showing them out there, so let's just keep having fans remember that they're on the roster, and one day down the road, one day down the line, we'll have something for them. Meanwhile, the past 3 months, we've been seeing them in jobber matches with no destination, no purpose, no meaning. Back in the day, jobber matches meant something. It showcased what the individual or tag team can do, and during the jobber matches, storylines would form. Remember Nails attacking Big Boss Man during his jobber match? I can go on and on. Earthquake in his jobber matches. And showing exactly what he was going to do at the next pay-per-view by doing it to that jobber and after the match destroying them even more. I remember these little things of what jobber matches can do for an individual or individuals, and they're just using them for 3 minutes of bullshit because they don't care and don't have anything for the Viking Raiders. When I say I love jobber matches, it doesn't mean the same fucking people every week for a year. We end hour number 2 with another second round King of the Ring tournament match, Samoa Joe versus Ricochet. This match went well into the start of hour 3 as well, and it was a decent match. Very much slower paced than I thought it'd be, but it picked up towards the end, obviously, as most matches do, and abruptly ended when Joe had Ricochet in the coquina clutch on the top rope. Ricochet fell backwards, so both Ricochet and Joe fell to the mat, and both kind of had an arm on each other, but all of their shoulders were pinned down. So like a dumbass, the ref counts 3. Clearly, everyone can see all the shoulders down, but the ref counts 3 anyways, like a schmuck. And then when he gets up, he's like, what did I just do? I didn't know why did I do that? Why did I put my hand on the mat 3 times? Now I'm standing here not knowing what I did. Because he didn't have a clue what he just did. He counted 3. Who are you counting, man? Common sense would tell you if your job is a referee, before you do the one thing you have to do, which is just count, don't you want to know whose shoulders are down? And if in your estimation all of them are, and you're not going to have a clue what to do anyway, then why count 3? Why not wait and go, no, all shoulders down? At that point, answer me if I'm wrong here. Maybe I've just been watching so long that some of these rules are just fucking going to the back burner. If all 4 shoulders are down, isn't that literally just a double count? Wouldn't the ref just count both men down? Almost like a count out. Wouldn't that become the first train of thought rather than counting both of them in a 3 count? Wouldn't you just count them both like nobody can continue? That type of deal. Both are down and out. I counted 10. They're knocked out. Match over. Wouldn't you be more okay with that than both being counted 3, the ref getting up and going, who the fuck won? I don't know. I don't know what I just did. That's what it comes across as, guys. That's what it comes across as. If you're willing to just overlook that, that's fine. I'm not. You had a referee whose one job is to count 3. He counts, he gets up, and he's like, I don't know what I did. I don't know who won. I don't know what I was looking at. I'm counting, and I'm thinking, what is my wife gonna make me for fucking dinner when I get home? Where am I going next? What town am I going to? What is my son Nicholas? When is he gonna win his next championship? John Cone looked like an idiot last night. So then he gets out, as if this couldn't get any worse, okay? make sure I got all of the fucking this in order. Yeah, he went right out there. The ref went right. John Cone went right to the fucking bell booth, I call it. Right? You got the little fucking, you got the announcer, you got the bell, the timekeeper. Right to the timekeeper's fucking booth, the bell booth. And you have John Cone putting on a headset like they do in Major League Baseball and the NFL. Basically talking to the officials and powers that be. Almost like they're reviewing the play. So fucking dumb. This might be okay if you announce it ahead of time that this is going to be a new rule. But the fact that out of nowhere, we've never seen this before, he knows enough to go to a headset like he's an actual official in a real sport, right? Like NFL, Major League Baseball, and now he's going to replay it. And then when he gets off the headset, you're thinking, okay, well, somebody told him what actually happened. Yep, I understand. This is what he's saying. Yep, I understand. Well, I saw both. He literally says, I saw all shoulders to the mat. Or he said both shoulders, but you know what he meant. He meant both individuals. He should have said all shoulders or all four or, I don't know, man. Both shoulders. That really, that's everything he did last night, now that I think about it, is just so, John Cone, get with it, will you? Both shoulders I saw to the mat. You know he meant all four shoulders. And if that's the case, then why would you count in the first place? And then he takes off the headset and he still doesn't have a conclusion. He just goes to the back. And then later on, we find out that it's going to be a triple threat match in the next round. Next week's semifinal will be Samoa Joe and Ricochet again. And I think they're both taking on Baron Corbin. It'll be a triple threat match in Madison Square Garden. Isn't that the whole point of a King of the Ring tournament? To literally have a tournament to find out who's the best. Now, I hate tournaments because in pro wrestling, obviously, it is scripted. It is predetermined. So a tournament, it's not like one of these sports like baseball or basketball or football where we're really fucking at the edge of our seat waiting to see who is the best in the world, because in pro wrestling, we've seen that Shane McMahon can even be the best in the world. It's all just one person's writing on a piece of paper backstage, and in one night, a tournament can be fucking done, and what did we really get out of it? You're not really determining who's the best. You can only hope it's entertaining as fuck. Well, so far, this whole tournament hasn't been entertaining. Some good matches, but we could see good Raw matches and SmackDown matches without it being called a tournament. Isn't that the point of a tournament? One-on-one, and at the end, we find out who overcame all the odds and obstacles. Those odds and obstacles shouldn't mean a fucking triple threat in a tournament. But that's this company. That's what they do. And I'm supposed to sit here on the review, because people get upset if I'm not too positive. I'm supposed to sit there and go, now we get an awesome triple threat in this tournament. What a fucking match that's gonna be. I'm not going to say that, man. This was absolutely tragic to have to endure the entire fucking 15-minute process that it took. Puts on a fucking headset like a fucking moron. Next up, the Firefly Funhouse. Just brilliant. We had a Vince McMahon Devil Horns character appear, and Devil Vince is upset with Bray for challenging Seth or Braun at Hell in a Cell. He even says, you're fired, but right before he can say Bray's fired, right before Vince can get that out anyway, Bray says, but I've been making this, and he takes out a wad of cash. Basically, like, behind the scenes, I'm making you a lot of money, Vince, and Bray literally starts feeding Devil Vince the money. How awesome is that, man? That was absolutely brilliant. Feeding Devil Horn Vince the money, man. And, this is how they took something that was kind of leaked, right? Where are they? In Sacramento for Hell in a Cell? And I think their arena leaked that Bray Wyatt was going to be taking on the Universal Champion at Hell in a Cell. So they kind of leaked it. But you also want the Fiend character to be kind of mystical, mythical, kind of fucking diabolical. You never know when he's going to appear. Kind of spontaneous, right? So how do you kind of keep that? Well, they kind of exploited what was leaked with the Mr. Rogers type Bray Wyatt character. So the Fiend loses nothing out of this, and they were able to bring that into the mainstream focus on their show. No harm, no foul. I hope that makes sense. This was just brilliant. Where they can have that Bray Wyatt character fuck around with Vince in a roundabout way, but then the Fiend, that's another whole entity. He does what he wants when he wants, and he doesn't answer to nobody. I love that shit, man. How they played that whole entire Firefly Funhouse. Backstage, I already went over this. That's when we had the John Cone backstage, and he tells Baron Corbin that we've decided, WWE officials decided, next week in the semifinals, it'll be a triple threat. Brilliant. Of course. Who came up with that, John Cone? Was it your fucking 11-year-old son, Nicholas? Unfucking real, man. Then we went into the Miz defeating Cesaro. And this is supposed to build to Miz's IC title match with Shinsuke at Clash. There's only one problem. Nobody gives a fuck. Just like with a lot of matches at Clash. Who the fuck cares about... Can I just say, or ask, who gives a fuck about Miz and Shinsuke for the IC strap? I like the Miz. I do. Just as a dude, I could drink some beers with him, some coffees, shoot the shit for hours with the Miz. I can already tell that. Wrestling-wise... They pump him up, then they bring him back. Then they pump him up, then they bring him back. He's at the first match of the pay-per-view, and then 2 months later, he's in a main event. Or he's in the middle of the card, or for 2 pay-per-views, he's not even on the card. They don't know what the fuck they're doing with him. And now all of a sudden, he's going for the IC strap again. With an already irrelevant, even with the strap, Shinsuke. And then he beats somebody who just had one of a great match with NXT this past weekend. And Cesaro should have kept that momentum from NXT and brought it to the main roster. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. The Raw main event was billed as a Champions vs. Champions showcase. This was Alexa and Nikki, tag team female champions, taking on Becky, the Raw champion for the women, and Bayley, the SmackDown women's champion. So Alexa and Nikki taking on Becky and Bayley. Sasha Banks' music hits. Sasha hits the top of the ramp, and we go to commercial. We come back. The thick of this match was exactly what we would expect. At best. It's Alexa and Nikki versus Becky and Bayley. I mean, we're not going to get an actual fucking wrestling clinic or showcase or classic. It was and that's at best. I'm being generous. But in the end, business picked up. Sasha interferes, causing a DQ on Bayley and Becky. So Alexa and Nikki Cross end up winning via DQ thanks to Sasha Banks' interference. Sasha starts bashing Becky with a steel chair. Bayley steps in, stops her, grabs the chair, and after careful consideration, a smile appears on Bayley's face. And Bayley starts wailing away on Becky with the steel chair. The crowd was chanting Becky at the start of the show, or second hour, whatever the fuck it was. But by the end of the night, they turned on Becky, and the entire crowd was chanting, yes, 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 as Bayley wails away on Becky Lynch. And you can't help but feel bad for Becky. Not the fact that she was taking chair shots, but man, that crowd just, you know what I mean? And again, I'll say this, a couple of people are like, BC, don't you think it was kind of like a little bit of a shock factor? Sure, that plays into it. That still doesn't mean the entire crowd will just turn on Becky like that. They're supposed to I saw people with Becky shirts flipping out that she was getting her ass whooped. But again, it just goes to show you that they don't have anyone really to cling on to. It's the reason, guys, and this is the truth, that 8 years later, people are still chanting for CM Punk. It wasn't the fact that he was an awesome wrestler. He wasn't, guys. He wasn't. He wasn't a great wrestler, even. I'm hard-pressed to say he was good. He had a couple of pipe bombs at a time where we really needed that next Stone Cold type character. We were hoping it could be him. 8 years later, we're still chanting for what? What are we chanting for? Is he barely past 6 feet tall? Is he even over 170 pounds? Is he even a great wrestler? No to all of those. Yet, they chant his name vividly 8 years later. Why? I'm telling you why. They're clinging on to the only superstars they've known in the last 10 years. Becky Lynch in the past 12 months plus has been one of the only names that has captivated us at all. Even the Amplified man, pre-Survivor Series 2018, I was loving what was happening with Becky. And that was an iconic moment when Nia Jax busted her up. It also ended up being her demising moment, because ever since it's never been the same. Great for Becky though, because she got the title. She got on the covers of video games and promotional fucking material and magazines and parts probably in movies and such. That's great. But, this is my big but here. I'm asking you guys to be real with yourselves. Is her momentum anywhere near what it used to be? No. And if I'm going to continue this and ask you guys to be truthful with me, will you please watch that reaction last night when they were beating the hell out of Becky, and you tell me that that's not fair weather fickleness. That's no fault of the fans, but WWE's lack of giving a shit about where to place Becky Lynch in her storylines. Because that demise of Becky Lynch, guys, yeah, she can be on all this promotional material and video games and all that. That's great because there's nobody else. What happens when somebody else does take that badass spot? Once that happens, goodbye Becky Lynch. They will put her right at the beginning of the card, and some pay-per-view she'll be off of it. I promise you. I know where this is headed. I got no dislike for Becky at all. That was the demise last night of Becky Lynch and her momentum. Next week, she'll get more people. Becky, yeah, maybe. Are they really diehards? Or are they just waiting for something to capture and just grab their attention, captivate them? I think it's the latter. Now, I did say I was going to spend more time on the Bayley side of things, right? And I started talking about Becky more. Because again, I'm just shocked at how fast they turned on her last night. But for Bayley, that was just fucking awesome. It's something we waited for a long time. There was a moment back before the Boston Hug connection, whatever the fuck they call themselves. Before that happened, there was a moment where Bayley kind of beat the shit out of Sasha, and we felt it could have been a heel turn, but it wasn't, obviously, we found out. But that was the last time I saw that type of aggressiveness out of Bayley. So it was really cool to see. Now, I question if this is a legit heel turn. I question that because her next opponent is one of the biggest heels for that division, Charlotte Flair. And that's just in a couple of weeks at Clash of Champions. So are they going to do a heel versus heel? On top of that, judging by that reaction last night, does this just become another Becky type scenario where it's so badass and cool, they're not gonna boo her? I said that in last week's review about Sasha. Is Sasha gonna be so fucking cool and so badass, they're not gonna boo her? And now what happened with Bayley? It doesn't look like they're gonna be booed. It looks like Becky's the odd one out. And that's what I say about their booking of Becky Lynch. Isn't Becky gonna be the odd one out now? Ain't she gonna be the least? If you would have told me a year ago that Becky would have been the least cool out of the three females, I would have been like, nah, Becky's supposed to be the badass one. Not if she's not booked as such. They thrusted Bayley in this for some reason. Awesome for Bayley, not so much for Becky, but Bayley looked badass last night. That was a vicious streak, that was awesome. And this is what, if you're the Amplified man, I've been waiting for over a year now. Right? Before they started that Boston Hug tag team. I didn't like it. I thought it was not doing Sasha Banks justice. I thought it wasn't doing Bayley justice. And now it looks like I was right all along. Because here we are today, and they corrected their mistakes finally, and they're giving both of them the edge that they needed all along. And what does that do? Are they kind of back together now? Or are we going to have every now and again, maybe it's not every week, but every now and again, it's the Boston Hug connection again? Are they going to call themselves that? Or are they just going to be Bayley and Sasha? But if they have that type of edge, I'm down with it. If they are just another, pat on the head, hugging all the fans, I'm here to sign autographs and put smiles on people's faces. If they're that type of character, I don't want it. That's not the best way to utilize Sasha or Bayley. Or maybe Bayley, because that was her character in NXT, but she needs still an edge too, though. So I digress on that. She still would need an edge of some sort. So I don't want to see that type of hugging type, smile on people's faces type characters. This type of character with Sasha, this type of character with Bayley, I'm sold. If you want to put them together every now and again, let's rock. Let them keep that edge and let them expand on it. That was fucking awesome last night with Bayley. A shocker? No doubt. I honestly thought there was going to be a little bit of a rift with Sasha Banks. But instead, she was just like, fuck it. And that evil smile that came over Bayley. This is Bayley of all people. Her character is based upon the goody two-shoes. The signing autographs and putting smiles on your kid's face. And here she is, beating their hero up. So that's why that was really cool. And that's why a lot of people are calling this full-fledged heel. I just want to give it one more week before I call it a full-fledged heel. Because I need to see a lot of things. A, where WWE is actually going with it. And B, are they going to be too cool to even be considered a heel? In which case, I don't want to call them a heel yet. So I want to give it a week. And then I'll call it an official heel turn or not. But this was badass. And again, I say they're on their beloved hero. But after judging that reaction, was it really their hero, Becky Lynch? I don't know, man. I just think they were waiting for something cooler to come along. And for the longest time, Becky Lynch has been running on just fumes. Becky Lynch has been riding on just her laurels, on past momentum. And that was never more evident than what happened last night. Again, a lot of people will be upset that I'm saying this, but it's fact. I've done my research. I'm dropping truth here. You go back and listen to reactions, and not just last night, but I've been gauging reactions. I've been gauging these Becky chants lately. I have been from the beginning, actually, from the jump, but I'll say lately just so I don't sound too fucking egotistical, because people always like to call me out on, BC, you're too egotistical, man. You're too conceited. You think your shit don't stink, BC. You think you're the smartest man in the community, BC. I can't fucking win. I drop truth, knowledge, facts. Some people are just like, stop, BC. It's too much truth. So I'll dumb it down a little bit. I've recently been checking out these Becky chants, and I'm telling you right now, don't get too caught up in it. This Becky Lynch character is pretty fucking mediocre and average as of late. And by as of late, I mean WrestleMania time frame on. That better get corrected soon. If you're a Becky Lynch fan or just Becky Lynch herself, she needs to kind of go to her creative juggernauts and say, hey, we got a little bit of a fucking issue here. What are you doing with me? I have a chance to fucking continue some great success, and you're putting me in the most bullshit segments and scenarios I can possibly think of. Multiple months with Lacey, a month with Nattie, and now you're getting my ass kicked. I'm getting my ass kicked by Bayley and Sasha, who are now the cool kids. I was the cool kid. And that was Monday Night Raw last night. That was their main event. That's how they went off the air, with Bayley slugging down on Becky Lynch and the crowd totally turning on Becky, at least for that night. And we'll see what the future holds. But that goes to show you, if they could do it last night, every crowd can do that, man. And that goes to show you Becky needs some serious fine-tuning in her character and process. Bayley, the fine-tuning in her character and process has already gotten a fucking jump start. It's gotten some signs of life last night. And we'll be interested to see where we go from here. Sasha, Becky, Clash of Champions 2 weeks. It's official. I don't see any fucking way Sasha doesn't walk out with that strap. And if so, that is an absolute travesty. We'll see where it fucking goes. And again, Becky doesn't need a title. She just needs some good creative booking behind her. Some of the best pushes have come from people that didn't have titles. Maybe that's what she needs. A fresh start, a clean slate. The Amplified Man, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the SmackDown review and reaction. And again, later this week, I will talk in depth, hopefully anyway, of AEW's All Out. I don't know if it'll be a full review, but I'll give you guys something fucking special on that, because I have a lot to say. And I'm probably the only one in the community that's going to say it the way I'm about to. Because it's things that you probably haven't heard yet from anyone. Because they just don't have the fucking balls, the cojones, the how you doings to tell you the truth. I do. I don't care about the backlash. I want it all. I love being the bad guy. I love being the asshole, the boogeyman. I'll take the fucking heat. I love it. I shatter that shit like a fucking tennis racket, right? Like a baseball bat. I'm hitting fucking grand slams off of other people's hatred. Love that shit. So I'll tell you the truth. Whether you want to hear it or not, you're gonna get it. My Green Bay Packers, this Thursday, we kick off the NFL season. How badass is that? Against the Chicago Bears. That's Thursday night. Check your local listings, TV channels, all that good shit, and watch my Packers Start this shit up the right way. In a blaze of fucking glory, we rock that shit out. Amplified Man. More Starbucks, more ass whipping today. Let's rock it. Amplified Man. Meow. Meow. Check you later.